But it's not just about the hands-on healing modality. It's also a lifestyle. Like there's principles that we live by that we repeat every day in prayer, or I repeat them. I have them sitting by my tea where I make my tea in my morning. And it's really utilizing Reiki in all parts of your life. So it's not just do it on someone or you just receive it, but it's I do it on everything. I do it on my bank account. I do it on my car. I do it on my husband, my cat, myself. It's just raising the vibration around me.
Namaste. You're listening to the Savannah Podcast. Join us on an exploration of Eastern spirituality, yoga philosophy, and conscious living for the new age. This podcast is a production of SavannahSpirit.com, the best place to shop for unique clothing, spiritual handcrafted jewelry, healing gemstones, and fair trade gifts from the Far East. Now, here's your host, Brett Larkin.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the show. I don't know about you, but I have always wanted to learn more about Reiki energy work. And today's episode is a deep dive into this universal healing energy. We are going to talk about how is Reiki transmitted, how does it heal, and who might benefit from it. We're talking today to Reiki Master Teacher Kristi Kuttner. She's going to talk us through really from the basics all the way up to getting really sophisticated about how she performs Reiki, the surprising way she learned to sense energy, which is kind of cool. You'll never guess how. And we'll also talk about really the benefits of combining Reiki with your yoga practice. And if you're someone like me who's sort of been curious about what it would be like to receive Reiki healing, she's also going to talk us through kind of what a session looks like and what you should expect. Kristi, who we're talking to today, is the founder of Sittin Pretty Still, which sells really beautiful and unique products that encourage you to practice self-care, meditation, and yoga. They sell a really unique, beautiful star-shaped meditation cushion that I absolutely love. And she's certified in yin yoga. She's a meditation instructor, a Reiki master teacher, and she is also, like Judith Hanson-Lassiter, who I interviewed before, a nap activist. So I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation with her. Before I dive in, I just want to remind you how you can support the show. The first is by leaving a rating or review here on iTunes, even if iTunes isn't normally how you listen to the show. And right now, if you leave a rating or review and then just take a screenshot with your phone after you do and send it off to me, just email it to info@brettlarkin.com. As a thank you, I will reply with a really beautiful PDF book that I've made that just has some of my favorite journaling prompts and affirmations completely free, just as a thank you from me to you for leaving a review for the show. And then the other way you can support is by buying something beautiful at SavannahSpirit.com, the most amazing online shop for yoga clothing and jewelry. Today I am featuring their lapis organ. How do I say that? Today I'm featuring their lapis healing necklace. It's gorgeous lapis copper pendant that helps protect against EMF waves and energetic pollution. It's so gorgeous. So check out all the beautiful jewelry they have on their website. And now let's dive into learning about Reiki with Kristi. Hi, Kristi. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me again.
So we're going to talk about Reiki today. And I was wondering if you could just first explain for me and the listeners what Reiki is, because I've always been intrigued by it, and I think other people are too, but there's a little bit of confusion about what it actually is as a healing modality. And I know you're a master, well, you'll tell us, but I know you have a lot of experience with it.
Well, Reiki is defined as universal life force energy. So energy is all around us. It's in each of us. We all have Reiki within us. When I do a Reiki session, I'm just a conduit. Like that universal energy is flowing through me to the person I'm working on or the situation or myself. And it originated in Japan, and it was a form of healing after the war. Hands-on healing. So it was originated in Japan. It came to Hawaii first, and then it came to the United States. But
and I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to ask you so many annoying questions, so get ready. So my first one is when we talk about Reiki, is that different from prana, like those of us that do yoga would be familiar with? Or is it similar to prana? It's just called Reiki because it's from the Japanese lineage.
So Rei is universal and Ki is energy in Japanese. So Prana, ki, chi, it's all the same thing.
Okay, perfect. That's what I figured. I just wanted to make sure because, yeah, I know Qi in the Chinese medicine system and then Prana from the Ayurvedic or Indian system. And then so Reiki is the Japanese. So we're all talking about the same universal principle, which is that it's like this healing energy. Okay, so then you just said that it was a hands-on modality. But my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that Reiki can be done hands-on or hands-off. So can you kind of walk us through how those two things are different? Are people trained differently? Or how is the effect? I've also heard that it can be done through Skype and things like that. So what's the deal?
So Reiki Level 1, when you do a Level 1 training, we do attunements in all levels of Reiki, the Reiki trainings. So the attunements basically open up the channels, the energy channels through you, open up your hand chakras so that you can be a conduit of that universal energy that's flowing through you. Level 1 is all about doing Reiki on yourself. So self Reiki. When you go on to level 2, you're given the sacred symbols and mantras, and there is a distance symbol. So you can use that symbol to send Reiki through space and time to people and situations.
Okay, so the attunement, I want to ask you a little bit more about that because I've heard that word, floating around, and I think you sort of defined it for us. But is the attunement basically means that it's like you as the teacher awaken this healing energy in the student? Am I kind of understanding it correctly?
The Reiki flowing through me as the master to the student awakens it. So the attunement, the energy is flowing, the Reiki energy is flowing through me as the master to the student. And these ceremonies, the attunements are just sacred ceremonies, and they've been done for hundreds of years from the master to the student.
So it's sort of like an initiation process.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then level 1 with self Reiki, can you just give it a really practical example of what that looks like? I mean, am I putting my hands on my chakras? Am I keeping my hands off my body and doing something with something? I don't know. Give us a practical visual.
So a practical visual is I personally in my own personal practice and what I teach is going from like the crown of the head down the body. And yes, your hands will be near your chakras and on your chakras, but it's not just around or revolved around the chakras. It's also like the crown of the head, over the ears, the eyes. And there is we give out a printout with all the hand placements, but it's also very intuitive, and it's a time to check in with yourself and see where you're feeling maybe some heaviness or more energy. Maybe it's a temperature change, and it's very meditative, very self-healing, and very relaxing in the body.
So it could look like me just putting my hands on my heart, or if I am having pain in my thigh or hip, putting a hand there. And then am I thinking something specifically, or I'm more just tuning into this universal vibration of healing frequency? Kind of walk us through that.
You could apply mantras or affirmations like I am love, I am love, I am love. But, I actually just really love the silence. And there's music you can play, like just soft. There's on Spotify, there's lots of Reiki music you can play. And there actually is a really cool playlist. There's a few of them where the bell rings after 3 minutes. So it's like you're doing the 3 minutes on each site of your body. So you kind of know. Really, it's less about the noise in your head and tuning into the sensations in your body. So what you're feeling energetically, and people feel different things. I mean, for me, it's very tactile for me. It's very I feel that sensation into my hands. And I'll get to that too, because that's how I discovered Reiki. But some people feel a lot of energy is like a lot of heat in their hands. Some people see visuals, and some people don't see anything at all. And that doesn't mean it's not working. So it's the intention behind it. Your intention is to give yourself that loving universal energy that's out around us and that's, able to flow through you.
So yes, tell us how you discovered this and if you were skeptical at first, because I think sometimes people have that, right? It's like, how do I know this is real, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been a dental hygienist for 18 years now. So I clean teeth, and I would always feel, even when I first started cleaning teeth, I would feel like energy into my hands, almost like electrical shocks, like sensation. When the person would feel any pain, like if they felt pain in their mouth, I would feel it directed into my hands. And I never understood what that was. And I asked a few people that I was around, like colleagues, and they kind of looked at me like, you're crazy. No, they didn't have that. And so when I heard about Reiki, I was like, I wonder if that's what that is that I'm feeling. And definitely it's because I still have, like, when I do Reiki, the person's not feeling pain, obviously, like when I'm doing a Reiki session or when I'm doing it in a yoga class, but I still feel a lot of that like tingliness sensation into my hands. And that's how I personally feel it. Some people feel, like I said, their hands get super like red and hot, and there's different sensations you may feel. But at first, yeah, I think I maybe was a little skeptical, but once I understood, and now I've been doing it for 5 years, I've done thousands of hours of it, and all I can say is it works, and it is incredible. It's an incredible healing modality. If you've never had it done, I would highly, highly recommend having a session done for self-care.
And when you were doing it on people sitting in dental chairs, or sorry, not doing it, but like having this experience of tingling in your hands, were you also having like an intuitive sense of something else going on in their body, or not so much? Like it was more just you felt like you had this healing capacity within you.
And yeah, and I can read like their body language, like how if it's uncomfortable, or they're feeling fearful, or because that happens a lot in the dental chair. I think that's allowed me to be much, much more intuitive with people, and that comes to me naturally anyway, but it's definitely heightened the skill. And so yeah, I think having that experience of it going into my hands, I'm just feeling that energetic exchange, but I'm also looking at this human and like what they're feeling, their facial expressions, their body language, and breathing, all of that.
You mentioned that when people then go on to do the level 2 of Reiki, that they're introduced to sacred symbols and mantras. Can you tell us a little bit more about those? Are these symbols from the Japanese lineage as opposed to Chinese or Indian? And same with the mantras. Are those mantras can it be as simple as I am love, like you said? Or again, is it something maybe more specific from Japanese tradition?
So the symbols are, they're from the Japanese lineage. My lineage is the Makai Usui lineage, and he is the creator of Reiki from Japan. The symbols are sacred. So we don't give them away to anyone until they've actually been attuned in level 2. And the mantra is a specific mantra that goes along with that symbol, and that will be given to the student in level 2 as well. Some lineages do practice where they give the symbol like to anyone, or they'll openly write it out in public. But in our lineage, it's protected. Like we don't share them with anyone there unless they've had the level 2 attunement.
And then is there a level 3?
Yes, there's a level 3. That's the Reiki Master training after the level 2. And we recommend to do in our lineage, or the way we teach it, is to do about 1,000 hours of Reiki at least from your level 2 to your master.
So walk us through, before we let you go, what does a Reiki session look like? Like say someone was curious in doing this and they wanted to schedule a session. What would they expect? I mean, do they come and sort of tell you where they're hurting in their body and then just lie down? Is it on a floor? Is it a massage table? Or clothes on or off? What does all that look like?
It is clothes on. And you mentioned earlier the hands-on healing modality. And what I meant by that is some people do hover their hands, so they aren't touching the person, because it can be touching or not touching. We're using the energy through the hands. I practice actually physically touching. Clothes are on. In fact, I recommend wearing super comfortable clothes, and maybe if it's chilly out or chilly in the house, then comfortable socks so your feet don't get cold. Massage table is usually where they're practiced, but it can be practiced lying down on the floor or a couch. And like I mentioned earlier, it can be not even in the same space. You can receive distance Reiki. In fact, I do those occasionally, but even in that case, you'd want to be comfortable where you're laying down and you're in comfortable clothing. It's always good, I think, to talk to your practitioner too about what's coming up. And it might not even be like pain that you're feeling. It can even be emotional stuff too. Like I just worked with a woman who was in a bad car accident, and she had a lot of trauma because she didn't know, like how she was going to feel when she woke up in the morning, like if she was going to be in a lot of pain. So it wasn't even the pain in her back, but it was the trauma like in her chest area, that she was just had all this pressure from the stress of not knowing if she was going to be in pain day to day. So I was really happy that she opened up with me beforehand to let me know what was going on. And then during the session, it's good just to not really have expectations like, I'm going to feel temperature, I'm going to feel tingliness, I'm going to feel this. Like, just go into it with an open mind and let yourself feel what you need to feel. And the Reiki flowing through me to you, or your practitioner to you, it's going to travel to wherever it needs to go in your body. So it's not like I'm directing it right to your hip. If it's, if your hip is hurting, maybe that pain is coming from an imbalance in your shoulder when you walk, and the Reiki is going to flow in your body to where it needs to go and heal that imbalance, not only in your hip, but also your shoulder and maybe your neck. Or does that make sense? It goes in directed to your body where it needs to go.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. And I'm imagining, do you have a lot of people coming who all other modalities or other things they've tried sort of haven't worked, and they're sort of arriving at Reiki as a last resort? Or who do you see sort of coming to this work?
That's what I love about it, because I see such a range I see people who are doing everything. They're doing acupuncture, they're doing yoga, meditation, and I see people who are lawyers and don't do any of that. So, are just have like high pressure jobs and are only do Reiki. But I have an occasion, seeing people that's last resort. And what's beautiful about it is they're going to receive healing energy no matter what. Just watching their body relax and just let go, that alone is just such a healing benefit. And usually people have different occurrences, like what comes up in their mind, like the visuals. And I tell them to create space after an appointment too, to like maybe go outside, get grounded, go down to the park or the beach or something where they're not looking at their electronics, but they're letting the healing energy flow through their mind as well. Like what needs to come up that they needed to hear.
I'm imagining for you as the practitioner to have all this healing energy flowing through you, you need to practice a lot of self-care, which was the topic of our other episode. Is that true?
Yeah, I do a practice every day with my meditation in the morning. And sometimes I do it in the evening. Most nights I do it in the evening, like as I fall asleep. And that could just be resting my hands on my belly or my heart. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. The level 1, that's why it's so important we do a 21-day chakra cleanse between level 1 and level 2, where we have our students do self-Reiki in the morning and evening, because it's so important to do it on yourself first, like fill up that cup and make that a daily practice, so you're not giving and depleting.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And last question, we've mentioned the chakras a couple times. Are the chakras also in the Japanese system with different names or sort of different explanations? Or is it just like universal? Like it makes sense to incorporate the chakras into the Reiki work because, people really just feel and resonate with these energy centers in their body?
It's the universal. We teach the same ones we do in the yogic philosophy. Like they're the same names and same colors, same vibrations, everything.
Okay, cool. That's interesting because I've wondered about that. I feel like I have a much better understanding of Reiki than I did earlier. Is there anything that you left out or want to make sure people know before we let you go?
I think just knowing that for me, I'm an empath and I was always very sensitive to energy. So I would get drained very easily. And I didn't understand why that was. But now having the knowledge with Reiki, it's understanding energetics. So it's understanding what you're doing in your life that's also draining you or filling you up. I like to say that too, because there's a lot of things I do in my life that fill me up to the max, which is amazing. But it's not just about the hands-on healing modality. It's also a lifestyle. Like there's principles that we live by that we repeat every day in prayer, or I repeat them. I have them sitting by my tea where I make my tea in my morning. And it's really utilizing Reiki in all parts of your life. So it's not just do it on someone or you just receive it, but I do it on everything. I do it on my bank account. I do it on my car. I do it on my husband, my cat, myself. It's just raising the vibration around me.
I love that. I feel like it's this enhanced energetic awareness. And I mean, who couldn't benefit from that? So, it sounds like there's just so much self-healing accessible as well. So I'm so grateful you came and talked to us about it and demystified it a little bit for me personally, and hopefully for the listeners as well. I will be posting all the links, how you can keep in touch with Kristi, in the description box below this episode. She has a beautiful blog and she makes amazing meditation cushions. So all the info on that will be below this episode, wherever you're listening. And remember, the number one way to support the show is with a rating or review here on iTunes. If you don't know how to do that, again, in the description, we have some instructions for you. And as a huge thank you for leaving a rating or review, if you take a screenshot of it after you leave it and email it to info@brettlarkin.com, I will send you a beautiful PDF of my favorite affirmations and journaling prompts as a thank you for leaving a review. So take a moment to do that today if you haven't already. I'm wishing you a beautiful day full of, I hope, lots of healing. And I hope you put your hands on your body at some point today and try to integrate some of these Reiki principles we learned about today. So much love from my heart to yours. Namaste.
You've been listening to the Savannah Podcast. To find out more about Savannah, go to savannahspirit.com or follow Savannah on Facebook at facebook.com/Savannah Spirit. For daily inspiration, check out our blog at savannaeast.com. Be sure to join us next week for a new episode, and thank you for listening to the Savannah Podcast.